Welcome to Living Fuel TV. I'm Casey Craichy. This is my wife, Monica. Heart attack and stroke. If you live long enough, you're going to have one, right? Not exactly. We're here today to talk to you about heart attack and stroke prevention.
Now, Casey, I think it's important to say, first of all, what causes a heart attack?
You have a blood clot that enters the artery that blocks the blood flow coming into the heart. So that blockage starves the heart until it has a problem or ischemia, and that's an attack on the heart, if you will. So that varies from, you know, pain and then it goes away to death. I mean, that's the whole process that we're talking about here.
And what about stroke?
The same exact process. Now, there are other kinds of stroke. There's a hemorrhage stroke, which is basically the blood is bleeding out of the veins into the brain. But the one we're talking about here is the blockage. When you have an unwanted clot in the blood blocking the blood flow to the brain, and it's essentially a brain attack.
Now, why is this such a broad disease right now? Well,
it is, both of these are lifestyle. The vast majority you can manage through lifestyle. You can save your life by improving your daily habits, your nutrition habits, getting enough sleep, eating the right foods, you know, reducing the stress in your life or learning to deal with it better, exercising. All these things we talk about reduce the possibility of these occurrences.
Okay, so talk about, I mean, I was reading also up on this, and I was seeing a lot about polyunsaturated fats and excess carbohydrates versus saturated fats. So you hear these terms all the time. Can you explain how that affects this type of disease?
Wow, this is really important. Nutrition is a huge factor. And she talks about polyunsaturated fats. These are what most people are eating: vegetable oils, peanut butter, all these things that people get most of the time. When you go to restaurants, they cook in vegetable oils. And so these are the polyunsaturated fats, and they do cause an inflammatory condition in the body. So let's say that you have oxidized cholesterol. See, it's not the high cholesterol that causes heart attacks, nor is it the high triglycerides that cause heart attacks. It's the oxidation of high cholesterol. So you have cholesterol in the bloodstream, and it oxidizes and it starts to calcify. So then you have like a hose, and in that hose is part of it's clogged, and therefore the pressure goes up, so you have high blood pressure. And now if you have like an inflammatory diet like these omega-6 fats, high sugars, grains, all these things, now you have pressure on that vein that doesn't have as wide an opening to start with. So now you can have this, either a clot enter in there and block it, or you can just have it pressed down enough to where it is blocked and causing the heart attack or the stroke.
So how do people know what is a high inflammation food and what is not high inflammation? Because that really sounds like it's the key. We want to eat things that don't create inflammation in the body.
That is one of the primary keys, sure. I mean, an anti-inflammatory diet, eating lots of vegetables, some fruits, you know, not overcooking your foods, not eating red meat too often. Now, red meat can be very healthy, but you can't eat it all the time because you will be in a constant inflammatory state. So sugars, grains, all fried foods, all these things cause an inflammatory environment in the body. So we talked about inflammation. So you want to minimize inflammation. Now, interestingly, if you were to have a surgery, we've all heard 7 days before surgery, don't take these nutrients or these supplements or this food.
What are they?
Well, they're garlic, vitamin E, vitamin C, all the list of the ones that you hear about so much, and you don't take them. Why do they not want you to take these before surgery? Because of they increase blood flow in the body. Ginkgo biloba is another example.
Which is good, really.
Japanese native. Yes.
Unless you're having surgery, you want blood flow.
Absolutely. So this is, if you take the things they tell you not to eat, and interestingly, even many conventional medicine doctors will tell you there's no benefit to all these nutrients that people are taking, but the proof is that every hospital on the planet will tell you not to take these things within 7 days of a surgery because of the increased blood flow and the possibility of bleeding too much during a surgery.
And people shouldn't take these things prior to a surgery.
No, I'm not suggesting. Absolutely, good point. I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just suggesting that is a validation point of a point that we're trying to make, is that you want to increase perfusion of blood in the body, in the organs. It's the way nutrients are transported, oxygen is transported through the body. Very, very important. So you want to be clean and open. I mentioned Japanese Natto or Nattokinase, which is a supplement made from Japanese Natto. These things are known to thin the blood or increase the blood flow in the body. Now, many of you are already on, you've had some kind of congestive heart failure or some kind of heart attack in the past, and so that you're on prophylactic doses of Plavix or Coumadin or some other kind of blood thinner. Now, I am no fan of these. They do have their place in medicine. I'm no fan of these particularly long term. They're not healthy to take long term. Those are called irreversible platelet aggregators. So basically, if you have a cut, you could bleed to death from the most minor of cuts. Fish oil, for instance, is a tremendous or increase in blood flow and reducing the viscosity of the blood. Fish oil is a reversible platelet aggregator, which means that you can have a cut, and although your blood is flowing nice and clean, you still send clotting agents and can stop it. It's a natural process. So
now, if somebody is on the prophylactics, the medications, they shouldn't just load up on the fish oils. You're not saying that either.
Well, I'm not saying that either, but you know, if you can work with a doctor who is nutritionally knowledgeable, he can have you start on smaller doses of fish oil, and they're supposed to check you every couple of weeks or every week, the viscosity of your blood when you're on these blood thinners. And
maybe
so
they could transition over
as the tests come in, you can reduce the amount, not of the fish oil, obviously, but of the pharmaceutical, and increase the amount of fish oil and continue that process, and eventually, hopefully, you can get off of these drugs. So the point is to keep the blood flowing clean and clear. That is a very important process in avoiding heart attack or stroke. And then obviously eating natural food, so it keeps your vessels flexible, and if you see your skin is nice and youthful looking, then that usually indicates that inside also the veins are not hardened and so on. So eating very fresh and eating wise and avoiding the fried foods, all the things we talked about there, is a tremendous step in avoiding these terrible occurrences that can change the course of one's life forever.
And keeping the sugars low, the excess carbohydrates low.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because on holidays, particularly let's say Thanksgiving, it is like one of the highest number of people reporting to emergency rooms after eating a buffet at Thanksgiving and all the apple pie and stuffing and potatoes and all the things they eat, because high insulin and high blood sugar is an enhanced clotting state. It promotes clotting in the blood. If you ever have seen a diabetic, or you that have diabetes, that have put insulin in your body, you have to change the sites which you put it in, because of the clotting where you put the insulin in, it clots.
And the inflammation, right?
And the inflammation also. So these things would be really powerful strategies. And obviously we didn't mention much about exercise, but exercise increases blood flow.
It's all about flow.
It's all about flow. Yeah. It's all about balance. So
you know, another thing that I want to bring up is hydration, because I know that you know, if people are chronically dehydrated, that makes the blood thicker.
So glad you mentioned that. If you basically, and if you look at athletes who are dehydrated, what happens is you have less volume in the blood. And so the blood, let's take the kidneys, for instance, trying to filter the blood, or even the liver. The blood has to go in here and be processed. And if you don't have enough blood flow or liquid to make the blood flow, you create a stagnant environment, which can eventually cause a terrible complication. So drink plenty of water. That's one of our foundational principles that we teach here.
And the body is made up of how much water?
Well, I mean, 70% water or more. It depends on the stage of life.
Yeah, and you think about all of the ways that we lose water, through elimination, through sweating, crying, even speaking, sneezing, coughing. I mean, there's so many ways that water leaves our body, and there's only one way that it comes in, and that's if you drink it.
I'm so glad you mentioned water, because people are drinking liquids and thinking it's water, and so many of these liquids you're drinking are dehydrating liquids. So let's make sure that we're minimizing the sweet drinks that we drink at all. We drink plenty of fresh spring water, and then keep yourself well hydrated and follow the tips we talked to you today.
Oh, and I want to say too, you can always tell if you are hydrated enough just by your urine. If your urine is a heavy, cloudy yellow, that means you're probably not hydrated enough. But if it's kind of clear and a very light color, then you're well hydrated. So
Very
just
good.
a little tip from Mom.
Very well put. Very well put. So hopefully these tips will add life to your years and years to your life. God bless you and have a great day.